Hello and welcome back to the YouTube channel. Today I am going to be taking you through my vision board process and how I use my Clifton Strengths assessment results to help me plan my year and my goals. So that way I am living in my strength zone and making sure that those become a priority for me. If you don't know what Clifton Strengths is, please check the description below. I'll have a link to the video I did where I go through all of the different strengths. But Clifton Strengths is an assessment tool that I use in my coaching, and I've been doing it since I was like 2014. And it just helps me to have a different level of self-awareness so that I can show up and be the best version of myself instead of trying to be somebody else. So that's what we're going to focus on today, is how to use your Clifton Strengths results to help you goal set, to make sure that you have a fulfilling year, even if the goals aren't super massive or things like that. So the first step is breaking down your Clifton Strengths. And so I'm going to share that with you here, going through my Clifton Strengths and the Insight Guide to show you what I'm pulling out from the report itself. So if you've taken the assessment, you will also have access to your own Insight Guide. And for the sake of this video, we are going to be focusing on the top 5. Once we've gone through the report, then what I'm going to do is show you how I take that and make it visual, so that way I have a visual vision board to make sure that these goals and my strengths are top of mind as I continue forth. So yeah, let's get into that. Let's get started with going through my Clifton Strengths report. All right, so here is my Clifton Strengths 34 results. So I'm going to show you how I go through this, and we'll use this information from my report to make my goal setting for the year. It just helps me understand and stay focused on what my needs are instead of getting distracted maybe by what everyone else is doing or what I think I should be doing. It allows me to stay, it allows me to basically stay focused on the things that will make my strengths stronger instead of seeing what other people are doing and using that to guide my goals. So first of all, we could take a look at my goals here. We can see I'm just going to focus on the top 5 for the most part for this goal setting purpose. But obviously elements of these other strengths are going to come into effect occasionally, but we'll just focus on the top 5 for now. So mine are futuristic, relator, strategic, self-assurance, and achiever. So in a nutshell, what this says is that I am somebody that likes to be at the forefront. Futuristic means I'm always like ahead. Strategic is 2 steps ahead. Self-assurance means that I will put myself in situations that I think I can do, even if I don't have the skill to back it up. Relator is about relationships, and achiever is about setting goals and making them happen. So just based on my strengths alone, goal setting is fun for me because I get to look into the future, I get to set a goal, I get to think about how I'm going to achieve it, and I get to do things that might be very difficult, but my self-assurance tells me that why not you? Like, it allows me to go for those things that are a bit bigger. So that's just a general overview, but now let's look at the report itself on each strength, and I'll show you the parts that I'm going to use. So if you've done your Clifton Strengths, you should also have access to a similar report. It will be called either the full report or the Insight report will give you the same information. So, of course, you want to read through your main information here about what makes that strength for you specifically stand out. If you haven't done a coaching and you've done the Clifton Strengths, you may think that everybody that has futuristic has this same report, but that's not actually true. This report is crafted based on where my other strengths lie as well. So it's quite specific to me. Some things will overlap with other people, but overall it takes into account all of my strengths and not just futuristic. This part up here is the part that is the same for everyone. This is why coaching is really beneficial, because you get to understand how it applies to you specifically, as opposed to just assuming like Myers-Briggs or things like that. There's an overarching theme for everyone. Yours is very specific. In fact, Clifton Strengths believes that you are the same as 1 in 33 million. So chances are that your report is going to be slightly different than the other person that has similar strengths. All right, so let's get into it. So the main things I take away from my report on futuristic is that I treasure one-on-one conversations or more intimate conversation settings. The biggest thing for futuristic, loves to brainstorm. Coming up with innovative ideas. I don't like being told that it isn't possible in this stage. I just like the ability to dream and think about possibilities and imagine and things like that. I like to help other people that maybe can't see ahead. I can see how the steps kind of fall together to get them to the next stage. So I really like that. That's one of my skills that I have, or a talent that I have. So while that information is important, that lets me know like kind of that's what my behavior will tend to enjoy. What I actually want to look at in order to goal set is the part down here that says take action to maximize your potential. This lets me know kind of the things I want to do daily, weekly, monthly, and so on to make sure I'm staying in my strength zone and fulfilling the needs of that particular strengths. And also recognizing when maybe I've forgotten to do that and why I feel not fulfilled or depressed or things like that. So what I look at here, so use as much detail as possible when you describe what you see on the horizon. What I take away from that is that I need time to sit and not just like have an idea, but also kind of flesh it out in terms of either journaling so I can explore and paint the picture with words, or I can get on a Zoom call. This is where my friend Beth, who has the complete opposite strengths of me, comes in handy. She's really great at asking me questions to help me dream and see what it could look like. It's just an exploratory process. But this tells me one of my goals should be making sure I set aside time for dreaming and painting pictures of what it can look like. The next one says choose roles that allow you to contribute your ideas about the future. So being an entrepreneur, I mean, that's basically, I can do that on my own. I am my own boss. So this is why a lot of the things that I talk about is helping people move forward. And one of my strengths is always moving forward. That is in part due to futuristic. I don't stay in the present very long. So I will, as an educator, instead of teaching on what was, I'll teach on what can be and help people see what that looks like. So as far as goals are concerned, that tells me that I want to make sure that I'm really leveraging that when I'm planning out my content or creating experiences for people that I have to remember to fill in the steps with how I get there. Help those who are struggling to imagine their future. This goes with this as well. So again, as an educator, this is something I do. I help them see what is possible. And this actually happened the other day in one of my Empowerment for Everybody classes. We were talking about possibilities of things, and one of the women were like, that was so empowering because I had this one very specific idea about what this could look like, and now I have all these other ideas about what it could look like. And that's the beauty of futuristic. Write down your ideas. So one thing I've always done as a kid, this goes hand in hand with my achiever, is I've always written down what I want to happen, and then it does happen, which as an achiever loves to cross off. But this again lets me know like I need to be taking time in my life, in my week, in my day to visualize what I want to happen. That's going to help me stay focused. But if I don't set aside the time, I'm not going to be able to do that. And that actually happened when I was at the height of my business. My schedule was packed super full, and because I was serving other people, I never gave myself time to sit with myself and just think about what I wanted for the future. And so I would be distracted by what other people wanted instead. So this is a good way to set a goal around, make time or make a ritual around revisiting my goals daily, weekly, monthly, and so on. And then read articles about technology, science, whatever. Like just reading in general is something I love. So one of my goals there could be read X amount of books on, neuroscience this year. My goal could be read 10 books on neuroscience by the end of the year. That's a great goal. I know that's going to help me come up with information and have things to teach on, but it's just a really good goal to have that's going to also feed into what could be the future of brains, good stuff like that. So that's how I'm going to use futuristic. So just to jot it down, I was jotting this down in my notebook, brainstorming one-on-one or by myself, just making sure I take time to actually do that at least once a quarter. If you went back and watched the content planning video I did, if not, you can check it out at the link here. And in there, I talk about how I set a theme and then brainstorm, but making sure I actually set time to do that so I can plan futuristic, plan 3 months ahead to make sure that I have a strategy. I put down that I want to make sure that I'm making time for daydreaming and journaling. So those can be either daydreaming or journaling. They can coexist or be separate. But just being okay to just not be doing and instead be thinking. And then I wrote down set deadlines for future dreams. So one of the, I guess, downsides to futuristic is like some of the things that we see are so far in the future that we have to wait for the world to catch up to the idea. Just to give you an example, I thought of the geo theory 5 years before I wrote the book. I bought the domain 5 years before I wrote the book because I didn't have the knowledge, the experience to be able. I knew what the concept was, but I didn't know how to put those steps into place until I went back to school and I learned all this stuff. And then I was able to kind of make it into a thing. So that's been very common for me in that I'll have an idea and I'll try to execute it right away, but it sometimes needs a lot of time before it will be a valuable asset. So that's something I had to write down, was make sure that I'm setting realistic deadlines for futuristic ideas. And then making sure, again, one of the goals is going to be reading 10 books on psychology over the course of the year, but like not old psychology, new innovations and things like that around psychology to, help me learn more, because I think that's fun. So that's how I'll use futuristic to help me goal set. Next up, I have Relator. So Relator is all about close relationships. If you have Relator, you'll know you have Relator somewhere in your top. If number one, you freaking hate small talk with a passion, and you can sense people's bullshit a mile away. That's the beauty of Relator. You know when people are being disgenuine. But where that can get us into trouble is like, we're fine with the friends that we have. I always say, I don't need any more friends. I'm great with acquaintances, but I don't need any more close friends. And so sometimes it can be very like cliquey or closed off in that way. And it's not meant to be exclusionary. It's really more as a protection thing for myself. So knowing that Relator is relationship building strength, this tells me that it's going to be important that I make time for relationships, whether that is in my job or that is in my personal life. Again, one of the things that fell off at the height of my business and contributed to my burnout was that I had stopped attending family dinners. I stopped hanging out with my friends. I was being a lone entrepreneur because I didn't think anybody understood, and oh, I'm so special. But the reality is that I was a workaholic. That is it. I was addicted to working, and it definitely got in the way of my relationships. So with an overarching theme for the year, one of my goals is to heal my relationships. This is going to be a really important piece to that. Having these relationships, but making sure I'm actually putting in the time to maximize them and enjoy them and be present with people is going to be really important. The other thing with Relator that I have to remember when I see all these other like coaches or things like that where people run like these huge memberships where they can make, let's say they make $100,000 with one launch because they have, 100 plus people sign up for them. That is not conducive to my personality. Like, I want to work with max 15 people at a time, which means a lot of the content or courses that I create are not necessarily scalable the way that a lot of online courses are. But that's okay, because it's more fulfilling for me that way, because I feel like I'm having more of an impact on the 15 or so people that I get to talk to more personally and get to know. I can feel more safe sharing vulnerably with them, that I feel that it has a better outcome in the long run, and therefore it's more fulfilling. But again, if I don't know that about myself, I'm going to see what everyone else is doing, and I'm going to assume that, oh, I need to be having these very large groups with managing all these people. I do not want that. So again, we're going to look down here at what I can do to maximize this potential. So again, making sure I have one-on-one time with people, whether this be family or friends or clients. Making sure that I'm not only seeing them in a group so we can only have a topical conversation, but rather making time to have Zooms for like a few hours where we stay in contact. And just making it a priority, I think, is really, really important. And the second one down, stay in contact with your friends. No matter how busy you are, your closest relationships energize you. This is so true. I always say, like, I don't like people, which isn't true. Obviously, I like people, but the people that give me energy are the people that know me, and I don't have to be a certain somebody with them. Like, I can just be silly and goosey, and that fulfills me. That's energizing for me. So knowing that information, that tells me that has to be a priority. And one of the things I did was start initiating a lot more in my relationships. Before, I always had friends that would ask me, but if you say no enough times, they stop asking. And it wasn't that they stopped asking that was the problem, because I don't have includer or things like that. It was that I actually recognized that I was lonely because and felt like I didn't belong anymore with people because I pulled away. So going forward, I want to make sure that we do a family dinner. So I'm the one that says, okay, these are the dates that are available. Which one works for you guys? I'd love to have family dinner on this day. So reinstating this and bringing people back together around me is really important. So that's going to be one of my goals is, and there's a few goals I have around personally here. So one is that I want to instill at least once a month we have family dinners with the extended family. Once a quarter, I would like to see my brother and his family. Once a month, I would like to see my sister and her family, just because they live in the same city. So it's a bit easier. And once a week, I want to connect with a friend, even if it is about business. It is still somebody that I trust and can talk to. So these are all goals that I have set, and I just want to live a bit more and actually have relationships with people instead of just work. The other thing about Relator to know is that as a Relator, I like to take really broad concepts. So this feeds back into that reading, the reading goal that I had, because Relator likes to take large concepts, large abstract concepts, and make them easier to understand for people. So I need to make sure I'm taking time, again, to actually set aside time to read. So one of my goals is every morning I have to read one chapter of a book that is like self-development, psychology, whatever. And then at night is reading more fun books that are not psychology, because otherwise my brain gets going. And then again, just stay focused on small groups versus big groups. Figure out how I can scale having smaller, more intimate groups in a way that allows me to do that job and still, make the money that I need to make, but also make sure that I can be the leader, or not leader, I hate that word, the educator that I need to be for those people. So those are the goals that I would have based on Relator. So then we zip down to strategic, and just as an overview of strategic always needs a purpose, number one. Strategic always needs to know what is the end destination or close to it, otherwise it gets overwhelmed with analysis paralysis. And strategic just needs to figure stuff out. So, which is great because there's so many different ways that I can do that aren't necessarily even business related, but being an entrepreneur allows you to do that. Again, going back to that content video that I created, that's exactly what that was. That was an example of my strategic being able to work effectively, to take something that was overwhelming me, find a strategy to make it more effective and more efficient and get an outcome that I desired. And then that brings in all my other strengths, futuristic, achiever, and so on, to allow me to move ahead more efficiently, I guess would be the case. So if we look at strategic's maximization here, it says strengthen the groups you belong to by using your talent to discover the best path to success. So again, I love helping my friends or my family or my sister just kind of figure out, like, this is what you're dealing with, here are some options. And I just really like to work with people to offer them solutions and strategies. I do a free coaching once, a few times a month in the Beyond the Body group on Facebook. That allows me to just go in and use strategic in a way that's helpful for others, but it's also fun for me because I don't necessarily have to execute the strategy. I just have to tell somebody about it, and that actually is really fun and fulfilling for me. So I started to instill that coaching once again. I used to do it probably about 2 or 3 years ago, and then I stopped doing it just because I didn't have time. But now I want to make it a priority because it's fun and beneficial for the other person that's being coached for free. It makes it more accessible, but also it's fulfilling for me to be able to use my strategic in a way that isn't me messing around in my own business. So that's that one. Schedule time each time of day to think about your goals and strategies. I've just started using Notion, which is amazing. If you've spent any time on YouTube, you've probably heard about Notion. But if not, I will be doing a Notion tour at some point once I get a real good handle on it, probably in a month or two. But because I have found that it is basically if MySpace and spreadsheets had a baby. It is fun, and you get to have your goals and your strategies. So I go in there every day. I have the desktop app plus the phone app, so I can go in and see exactly what I have to do that day, and it keeps my goals top of mind. So I've already committed to that goal, which is great. Trust your insight. So again, very gut driven. That's a big thing. But again, strategic is very similar to futuristic, where I just need time to be able to process things. Like, I need time to percolate on different strategies, but not too much time. So I just need to make sure that one of my goals is giving myself ample time in the day, the week, the month, the quarter, and then ultimately the year to think about not just what I want, but the strategy I'm going to use to get there, so that it is more productive, more efficient, and I'm able to have the life balance and fulfillment that I'm looking for. So this part here where it says find a group that does important work, this is essentially what I'm doing with my coaching, where again I say my goal is to have 2 coachings a week in my Facebook group, in addition to obviously having coaching clients. I want to have 60 coaching clients by the end of the year. So yeah, I just it is fun for me to help other people and provide them strategies for their businesses, or help them see a different direction than maybe they never thought of. So if you're interested in coaching, click the link below. All right. So that's basically how I will goal set for strategic, is making sure that I have time, making sure that I'm not just using strategic for myself, but also offering it as, a gift for friends, family, and coworkers or colleagues. I don't have coworkers. I'm an entrepreneur who works by themselves. All right. Okay, so self-assurance. This is one of my this strength has helped me a lot. It never used to be so high, but now it is. Basically, self-assurance is the part of me that will put up my hand to volunteer for something before my brain knows what it has done. So sometimes I'll take on things that I definitely should not. But it's very much like instinctual, very much like, yeah, of course I can figure that out. It'll be fine. So here it says, trust your instincts, but always gather enough input from other sources before you make the decision. Yeah, fine. Which I did do this actually. I had an opportunity to speak at a big photography event, and I just had this gut feeling that I was supposed to say no to it, even though I'd already said yes. And then I did ask some other people to get some feedback to make sure I wasn't doing anything reactionary. So I did actually already do that. So having it, one of my goals for the year is to have like an advisory board, essentially, like people that I trust explicitly, that have my best interests at heart. They become kind of the people that I'll go to, and that is a goal that I have, because when, again, I was at the height of my burnout, I didn't think I could ask for help. I didn't think I could go to anybody with information, and I thought I knew it all, which obviously I didn't. So now one of the goals is to, when I feel a certain kind of way, is to reach out to any of the people that I've put on my advisory board. So yeah, I just call it an advisory board because it sounds fancy, but it's really just my friends and family. So bring your confidence to areas of uncertainty where others are stuck. This is something also that I'm very good with, is making sure that when other people are afraid to move forward, that I can be an example of somebody that did the thing that was scary but survived. So I essentially, one of the things I had to tell myself, in fact, in starting this YouTube channel, or like kind of really getting it going, in stopping my photography business, all of that, the motivation for that was hard, but the motivation for that was I needed to prove or let other people see that you can change your mind. So that, again, is trusting that instinctual part. I like to be the role model for people on listening to that. So this year is about, one of my things was healing my spirituality or my connection with myself. I'm not religious, but I do believe in like empathy as energy and things like that. And so I want to work more on connecting with that part of myself. That's one of the goals, so that I can do this more for people and trust myself more, so I can lead other people to do the same. So that's kind of how I'm using that. Complement your natural confidence with others' talents and knowledge. I absolutely do this. I think that's partly my strategic as well, is that I recognize I'm not good at everything, but I am better when I have people that can complement the areas that I am not super great in. So that's where I bring Beth in, my VA Britt, my friend Jen, like all these people that can see the things that I can't see because of their talents, makes it so much better. So one of my main overarching things is letting people help me. I don't know about you, but I've always had a hard time receiving help, and because I have a hard time receiving anything, I never thought I was allowed to receive it. So now when people offer their assistance or offer to take something off my plate, I will say yes, more likely, if it is something I need them to help me with. So that is a goal, is saying yes to help more often. All right, and then let's move on down to achiever. So achiever is literally the goal setter of strengths. Loves to make lists. Lots of people end up having achiever usually in their top 5 to 10. So if you're somebody that likes to make lists just so you can cross stuff off when you do it, then this one's for you. So yeah, you work hard, possess a great deal of stamina, but my achiever again was one of, this is the thing, your strengths can become a weakness if you're not using it for the right reason. So my achiever was good because it's what's helped me be able to achieve a lot of the things that I wanted to, but because I have futuristic, again, I would push through things that maybe just needed a bit more time, because achiever cared more about just crossing it off than taking the time it needed to build it up. Kind of like forcing a flower to blossom. Obviously that doesn't work. So that happened a lot. So one of the things for me this year is making sure that my achiever does not sabotage me that way, and I'm actually practicing the art of patience. This is why one of the things I noticed with reading with my achiever was like, oh yeah, I just want to be able to say that I've read 100 books in the year. But if I'm not actually retaining the information, it doesn't fucking matter. You know what I mean? So now I'm practicing the art of patience, eventually knowing that I will get to the end eventually, but just by reading one chapter a day for the self-development books. One chapter a day, that is it. And yeah, practicing delayed gratification of achiever. It is very difficult, but it is a good goal to have. See, it says set challenging goals. So that's exactly what I'm doing. Yeah, and so that's the thing is that with achiever, it's like you just want to move on to the next goal. So I had to be very clear on what were the goals that actually would bring me fulfillment, because a lot of times the goals that I was setting previously would be like get a new couch for the studio or bring in X amount of money or things like that. That wasn't authentically motivated by me. That was me trying to get the things that I thought I needed in order to be valuable. And I ended up, spending a lot of money that I shouldn't have. I don't like to use the word shouldn't have. I did it, so it doesn't matter. But basically spending money on things that I could have prioritized other things a bit better. And I chose to go that route because I was seeing what everybody else was achieving. And as a futuristic person, I always like to be ahead. So I'd be like, oh, I have to get there first. I have to get it first. And then once it turns into it's no longer a strength. It is a weakness. So my challenging goals now are actually less about getting a thing. And actually, the goal itself is to delay getting the thing and see, can I save up my money to buy this thing and how will that feel differently? Instead of, yeah, I could put it on a credit card, of course, and buy it right now because I want it right now. Or can I put aside $50 and get it in 8 weeks and will it be okay? You know, like learning these new skills of patience and delayed gratification, that is my new challenging goal for achiever. And I'm quite excited about it because it feels good to be like, no, I'm going to hold off. I'm going to save up, or I'm not going to read this whole book in, 6 hours into the night. I'm going to read it just one chapter at a time. And then I'm going to do a little book report on it and so on. So yeah. And then the other thing it says with achievers, take time to celebrate. This is something else I never did before, probably because the things I was achieving before weren't really fulfilling, even though I thought they would be. I never celebrated my successes. As soon as my book was finished, like my first book or the Geo Theory was finished, I essentially was like, oh God, there's so much emptiness now. And like, if anything, it was not celebratory. I was fearful that I'd never have a creative idea again, shit like that. So now when I achieve something, like one of my goals is to go on the elliptical every day or just move my body for 30 minutes every day. And at the end of every time I do it, I always say, I did it! And then I literally do. And my husband was making fun of me about it today. But I do that because I need to stop and say, like, yeah, I did it. I showed up for myself. I chose myself today, which was something I never did in the past. And so I'm learning how to celebrate small successes so that way when the big ones happen, then I will also celebrate it as well. So yeah. That is the biggest one for achiever for that. So, and then this one here is really important too. Make sure your to-do list include tasks and responsibilities beyond work. I literally could work all day, every day, forever because it's fun. I love creating content. I love talking about stuff. I love reading books. I love educating. I love creating courses. Like I could literally just
do this forever. But of course, I live in a house that also requires certain things to be taken care of. I also want to have hobbies outside of the house. I want to make sure that my to-do lists are beyond just work. And so that's why I have like a habit tracker in that Notion thing that I was talking about, which says like, did you move your body? Did you read your books? Did you meditate? Did you, power down your phones? Today's cleaning the bathroom day. Like, kind of building up these processes that way has been super beneficial. So that is essentially it. Those are my top 5 strengths. So that's how we're going to be structuring it when it comes time to creating a vision board. And so the next video, or the next part of this video, is going to show you how I actually put that into a vision board to create more of a visual expression of all of this information. But I want to encourage you, if you haven't done Clifton Strengths, to at least take the assessment. Even if you get the base information, it will still blow your mind. And if you do want coaching on it, of course, you can hit me up for that. The link for that is, of course, in the description below. You can go check that out. But I just think Clifton Strengths is one of the best tools for self-development, self-awareness, and a better understanding of why you are the way that you are, because people have probably told you to be less of this and more of this, but that's only because those are their strengths. They have their own strengths. Your strengths are different. And so understanding what yours are, you'll recognize that you are not broken. You are a beautiful human with some amazing gifts, and we are not meant to all be the same. In fact, my mom said to me, imagine if everyone was you, Terry. I was like, oh, that'd be a lot of action taking and not a lot of thinking. And so that wouldn't be great. We need people with different strengths so that we can actually make things better and progress and move forward. So yeah, that's all. That's my thing for that. I am not paid in any way by Clifton Strengths. It has changed my life and the lives of everyone I've coached with it, and my whole family. So yeah, so I talk about it a lot, and I love it a lot. So if you come to any of my courses, like Body Image Bootcamp or Empowerment for Everybody course, I put you through it. I give you the test to take, because it helps you understand where you can outsource parts of your business too, which is super beneficial. All right, I'm going to stop talking about this now, and we're going to get into the next part, which is going to be all about vision boarding.
Okay, so actually before I get to that, I have to tell you, while I pulled out all this stuff, I came across this letter that I wrote to myself, and it's only one page. So there is another page that's supposed to go with it, but I don't know where it is. But I'm going to read it to you because it's pretty cool. It's about 10 years ago. To my future self. She's talking to me. As I write this, I am 30 years old, so this was 10 years ago, and loving my life. I am extremely thankful because at this point, I have the best boyfriend. I'm on my way to living my dream, and I finally have accepted myself. At the moment, the things that scare me are death, or rather, not living. That hasn't changed. The direction the earth is headed in, and losing everyone who means the most to me. I'm at that point where everything is good, so something has to happen, right? Well, here are the things I want to accomplish in the next 10 years, or should I say I will accomplish. Now, I don't know where the second half of this is, but I think I came across it a while ago in another drawer somewhere, and I had accomplished, I think, 13 out of 16 things on that list, which was pretty cool to see. But that just goes to show, like, the power of writing down your things, and of course, being futuristic, your future self, yeah. So write letters to yourself. If you haven't heard of there's a website called, I think it's called Dear Future Me. You can send yourself emails. I have one scheduled to come, I think, every April. It'll just show up in my inbox, a letter that I've written to myself the year prior. But you can set it for as long as you want. So you can send yourself an email 10 years from now, as long as you still have that email account. So highly recommend checking that out. It's another good way to kind of just put your goals out there and remind yourself. Because if they stay up here, they're less likely to be achieved. So just get them out, whether it's in the form of a vision board or a letter to yourself that you don't open for 10 years or whatever the case may be. All right. Anyways, back to the original program. So now that we've gone through the whole report, and thank you for sticking with me this long, now we are going to take that and put it into visual format. So first of all, obviously I have to cut out some things from magazines and different cutouts from collage books and things like that. But I want to show you a magazine that I found. I think I got it at Chapters, but it is like literally everything I need in a vision board is in this one magazine. I am not affiliated with this magazine. I just found it and I had it for like maybe, well, here, the date on it. It doesn't even have a date on it. That's how old this is. Anyways, it's called Origin and it's all cut out now. But it's like full of beautiful quotes, beautiful phrases, and literally everything I need in order to make the visual aspect. So if you have like, check out the Calm books are also really good for more mindset focused stuff. Origin, of course, is really good. Anything that's visually and aesthetically appealing I like. But I mean, if you yourself are an artist or you just don't like to make a visual board, you can also just like write out your goals. It's up to you. Whatever floats your boat is the point. I personally love cutting stuff out of magazines. I find that to be a therapeutic process. And I keep an art journal, so I do art, frequently. So this is just another way to create a little bit of chaos so I can organize it and make it more calm. So yeah, so the next stage is going to be me putting this stuff, all of these little thingies, down onto a piece of paper. So I'm going to just like have that as a time lapse. I don't think you need to see me really sticking stuff, but once it's complete, then I'll come back on and explain kind of what I ended up doing. All right, perfect. So hang tight for that and enjoy watching me cut. Nope, we're done cutting, pasting things onto the vision board. This is the vision board. Now, I did put it on a canvas because it was the smallest, biggest thing that I had. I have a really big watercolor sketchbook, but that was a bit big. So I opted to use a canvas for this, so it'll be easier to hang actually, which is nice. So let's talk about what I did here today. So the biggest one I started with, if you obviously saw in the time lapse, is it's not my job to manage everyone's feelings. For the longest time as an empath, I thought it was my job to manage everyone's feelings, essentially. If you're feeling sad, it's my job to fix it. If you're feeling, this is the relator piece of me, is like, if you're feeling this, then I need to be the one that reciprocates, or I need to manage that, or I'd stop myself from doing things because I'd be worried what other people would think. So, as I say in my writing class, you are not responsible for other people's reactions to your experiences. So that's just my reminder for that. I have a bunch of like little ones. Now, again, lots of these came out of that one magazine, which is wild. But timing, right? So I have self-care without apology. I used to override my own self-care needs because I thought it would make me selfish or uncaring or a bad person, which just isn't true, but it's a belief that I had about myself. So I had to work on shifting that belief. So just reminding myself that I'm allowed to have my time the same as everybody else's, if not more, if I'm being honest. Alone time to create, same kind of thing. A lot of times, many of us have been told that creative professions are not jobs. And so when it does become a profession, if we want to be creative, we feel like it's a waste of time and we should be spending our time doing more of the logical things. Listen, I have one down here that says, I don't know, time that's wasted, oh, here we go. Time you enjoy wasting is not wasted time, right? Because you enjoy it and your life is worth enjoying. And then using my futuristic, endless possibilities is important. Looking up and beyond is like a huge thing for me. Reminding myself that whatever is in front of me isn't the only thing, and I can always move forward to the future. And so to lean into my futuristic that way. And then I've asked for what you want and be prepared to get it. That's an achiever thing, because it's like, I want it, so I'm gonna go get it. Trust the timing of your life. Again, that's for my achiever. The goal I set for my achiever is, instead of go get that thing right away, it is saying like, just keep putting in the work and it will pay off just on its own time. It doesn't have to be all at once, kind of thing, how I used to be. Because then when you get there, it's not fun. And then down here, there's a whole thing on slow consistency is the importance. And then, of course, I talked about wanting to improve my relationships and get back into making time for people. So making sure I have enough within me to be able to support people, making sure that I'm filling my life with people that support me and know me the best and lean on them when I need it. Daydreaming, obviously, very important. I talked about that. Taking time to listen. I'm sure these are resonating with everything that I said when I was going through the Clifton Strengths report. Do what you love and don't let anyone stop you. Again, one of the things, if you are somebody that has futuristic, is this feeling like we always leave people behind, or we can see, the thing is we can see things that people can't, so it can feel very lonely, and other people be like, no, that's impossible. And a lot of the times we listen to those people because they do care about us. But the reality is we can see things that other people can't see. And so it's important to trust your gut, which I put down here with the naked lady, because I want to be naked all the time, but I also want to start really trusting my intuition over anything else. Calm your mind, go to bed on time. Making sure I'm taking care of myself and doing the things I need to do. And then I said, don't be afraid of being different. Again, my whole life, I always felt a little bit different than everybody else. I'm sure everybody has. That's the wildest thing, is we think there are people out there that don't feel different, but we all feel different. So maybe if we just accept that we are different, but yet still similar, things would be a bit easier, you know. You don't have to be me. I don't have to be you. We're all just our own selves. Remember to have fun. That's important, especially when I get into work mode. I forget to have fun sometimes. So, yeah. That's my vision board according to my strengths and how I utilize my strengths to help me kind of craft a vision for the year for myself. So, again, this is going into this year, and obviously we'll see how it goes going forward, but this will keep me on track, focused on what I need to do in order to be in my strength zone. If you've heard me talk before, when we are in our strength zone, that's when we do feel confident. That's when we feel fulfilled, when we feel like on fire in the good way, because we are living to our potential, or we are using our gifts that were given to us. And it's a really beautiful thing to be able to experience. And when we're not, is when we end up feeling stuck or stifled, or it can lead to depression or anxiety or things like that. And that is because our strengths become our weaknesses. And so, yeah, so it's important to keep the strengths top of mind when you're going throughout the year as your goal setting, to make sure that you are feeding the needs of your strengths in addition to achieving whatever it is that you want to achieve. So that way it is an actual fulfilled goal that you are creating, and not just something you're creating because you think you have to. I think that's one of the biggest downsides to goal setting for people is, number one, they set goals because they think they have to. Number two is they set them in a way that they think they have to. Like, I have to lose weight or get healthy, which ultimately means losing weight. Let's don't kid ourselves what people think. But there's like all these goals for things that aren't necessarily intrinsically motivated. And so then when we get them, we're like, yay, but it's fleeting because it wasn't what we were looking for, or we thought we'd be different people once we got it. So by sticking to understanding what your strengths are, developing self-awareness around the things that do fill you up and make you feel alive, giving yourself time to do those things while you're striving for your goals is going to make those goals that much sweeter. All right, perfect. Well, thank you for sticking with me, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.